Hi guys, welcome back to the desktop for another rules breakdown, and this time I'm going to be doing Twilight 2000, the 1990 second edition. Now there was a 2.2 edition came out in 1993, and the original first edition came out in 1984, but this is the version I'm going to be covering. This 2.2 edition updates some things, but it's not really that different, and the first edition, again, the rules aren't that different. Now, you're going to see a lot of similarities because this is a Games Designers Workshop game between this and Space 1889, which I covered the other week. They use very, very similar rules from their in-house system. Now, Twilight 2000 is the role-playing game of soldiers surviving a nuclear war, mainly in Europe, but affecting the whole world, and having to survive in that world, whether they decide to become warlords using all their heavy arms in Europe, or whether they're going to decide to try and travel back to America to see what happened to their families. Now, I've been told in the comments on my original Retro RPG for Twilight 2000 that this is not a game designed for me, that it's designed for ex-military people and hardcore wargamers. But I liked Red Dawn. I grew up on the American fiction of fighting commies, and I kind of liked that. So I really like Twilight 2000, so I'm going to cover it today. Now, skill resolution in Twilight 2000. If we flick in a few pages, we should find some sample characters. I probably should have stuck my finger in the page and marked it. They're in here somewhere. Oh, I skipped past them. There we go. We have a sample character here. Julia Martin, Jane MD. And the skills and attributes here are what you roll on for skill resolution. So the Games Master will decide which skill is most relevant. So let's say Jane M. Doe's a doctor, so she's doing something biology related, and she's got a skill of 3. So if the skill is of an ordinary difficulty, she is rolling against 3. So she'll take 1d10 and she'll try and roll against a 3. Get that or lower. If it is really easy to do, then she doubles her skill, so she'll be rolling against a 6. If something's very, very hard, then it gets halved, rounded down, so her skill will be 1. So let's roll the dice. We get a 9, so she has failed no matter what, whether it was easy, ordinary, or difficult. She failed. And that's as simple as skill resolution is. Now, obviously, you've got attributes here, and you can use them instead, but they are only applicable. And also, there's certain tests where you will add your education and biology together to give a target for your dice roll. But those are very specific tasks. Initiative in Twilight 2000 is as simple as it's written on your character sheet. So, Julia here has an initiative of 1. Now that's generated during character generation with a random d6 roll. Now if you're a more experienced character, you'll get a plus on that dice roll. If you're a real rookie, then you get a minus on that dice roll, 1 obviously being the minimum. And if we flick over the page here to the other sample character we've got, Lauren K. Wiseman, he's got an initiative of 5. Now, obviously, he goes first, but it has an extra effect as well. If we flick on to the combat section, we can see combat sequence here. So, in phase 6 of combat, everyone with an initiative of 6 acts. Then, in combat phase 5, people with an initiative of 5 act, followed by people with an initiative of 6. In 4, people with a 4, then a 5, then a 6 act. 3, 3, 4, 5, 6, down to 1. So our character Julia will only go then, and she will go before him in phase 5. However, he will have gone 4 times before her through the different phases. And that's how initiative works. The higher number you've got, the faster you go, and the more often you go. Now, for combat skill rolls, if we go back to the character sheets, so we've got Lauren here, because he's the more fightery of the two characters. He has his small arms and small arms rifle, so pistol and rifle skills written on here, with close, medium, long, and extreme range. And basically these are the skill values. So he's going to be rolling a d10 under that to hit a target. So he's firing a rifle at a close target. He needs to roll an 8 or under. He rolls a 1, so he hits. Julia here has for rifle only a 2 for close range. So she rolls, she gets a 6 and misses. Now that's as easy as hitting in combat is. Now damage, however, is where things get a bit more complex. So I've got plenty of fingers stuffed in pages here. First we need to determine where the person's been hit. So we've got a table here of 1 to 10. And we roll a d10 to determine where they hit. 2. So they get hit in the right arm. Now, we then determine whether we've got any body armor. So let's say they're wearing a Kevlar vest. That will not protect their arms. So they have no armor against that. But let's say they were hit in the head and they'd got a steel helmet. You would then roll, when they're shot in the head, on a d6. Let's grab a d6. Roll it. We roll a 1. So they were hit in the steel helmet. So now they've got an armor value of 1. If we flick over to the weapons, we can see the M16 here. Standard American assault rifle. And it has a penetration of 1. So it takes that 1 away from the armor value. We then remove what's left, so 0, from the damage. So 3 damage goes through, because the M16 has an armor penetrating value. But if we were shooting a pistol, it would have 0 penetration, so the helmet would reduce the damage of the pistol from 2 to 1. Now that's the number of dice that you're rolling for damage. So next we have burst fire. So if the M16 is being fired on burst fire, we can see that it does a 5-round burst. And for each of those, it has a chance of 3 of hitting. So we're firing 5 rounds. First one misses. Second one misses. Third one misses. Fourth one misses. Fifth one hits. So only 1 bullet has hit, so it's doing a damage of 3. If all 5 bullets are hit, that would have been 15. So 3 times 5 bullets, so 15 dice of damage. But with that burst, they only hit with 1 bullet, so it's 3 dice of damage. So we're rolling 3d6. So we do 5, we do 3, so 8, and 4, so 12 points of damage. If I flick over to the character sheet, we can see in their right arm they have 20 hit points. So they've taken 12, so are wounded. Unless, of course, they're hit in the chest or body. If we flick back to the combat section, we can see here, quick kill. Any aimed shot which has hits the chest or head may constitute a killing shot. Roll a d10. If the roll is less than or equal to the damage value of the shot, the target is instantly killed, except on a roll of 10 exactly. So, did 3 damage. If they shot in the head, we rolled a 2, that target is killed outright. However, the instant kill rule should only be applied to NPCs. It is recommended that PCs who suffer a killing wound instead suffer enough damage to increase the wound level of the head and chest to at least serious if unwounded. Now, as well as the wound damage taken off the hit points for the locations, wounds have various effects. So we've got knockdowns. If a character suffers more points of damage in a combat phase than his current agility, he is knocked down and may not conduct any other action for the rest of the current turn. So if we flick over, Julia here had only taken 3 points of damage. Her agility is 5, so she's still standing. However, if she's shot again and takes another 3 points of damage, then that'll be 6, which will exceed her agility this round, and she will fall over and be unable to act. We've also got stun. Any damage to the head, including burn damage, has the chance of stunning the character. To avoid a stun, roll 1d6 and add the damage suffered from the wound. If the result is equal to or less than the character's constitution, he is unaffected. So Julia here received, let's say, 3 points again to the head. So we roll a d6. So it's 1 plus the 3, so 4, and constitution is 5. So she's not stunned. If we'd rolled anything higher than that, we'd have... If we'd rolled a 2, rather, we'd have matched it, so she still wouldn't have been affected. If we rolled a 3 or higher, she'd have been stunned. And the stun has the effect of remaining unconscious for a number of combat turns equal to the amount by which the total exceeded his constitution. So if you roll a 3, then they'd have been unconscious for 1 round. Rolled a 4, they'd have been for 2, etc. Wound severity. 3 levels of wound severity are slight, serious, and critical. If one of a character's body parts has taken damage less than or equal to its hit capacity, it is slightly wounded. If it has taken more damage than its hit capacity, but less than or equal to twice its capacity, it is seriously wounded. If it has taken damage in excess of twice its hit capacity, it is critically wounded. Slight wounds. So, Julia took some damage to the arm. She took 12 points, so she is slightly wounded in the arm. That's what we'd calculated. So it causes immediate reduction of the character's initiative rating by 1. Character never suffers more than 1 initiative reduction for slight wounds, regardless of how many he suffers. Slight wounds have no other effect on the combat, although the character may wish to penalize actions making use of slightly injured arms or legs. A serious wound. A serious wound reduces the character's effective strength by half, rounding final strength down, and causes an additional immediate reduction of the character's initiative rating by 2, total of 3 including slight. So, if Julia had taken 24 points of damage in her arm, she'd be up to a serious wound. So her strength would be halved, rounding down, so down to 2. And her initiative would be dropped by 2. And for a serious wound, characters whose initiative ratings are reduced to 0 or less may not take any further actions during this combat. Character who suffers a serious injury must also make a roll under its constitution, expressed as a percentage using 2d10, 1 for the 10s and 1 for the 1, to avoid losing consciousness. So if she took 24 points, she would now be having to make a percentile roll for her constitution. So she has a constitution of 5, so she rolls 57, so fails, so falls unconscious. And we've got critical wounds. Critical head injury causes immediate death. Critical injuries to other body parts cause immediate loss of consciousness and require medical attention within 10 minutes, or the character will die from loss of blood. So as well as just taking the ordinary damage and mitigating that way, you have extra effects of wounds here, which lower your initiative and lower your stats, and possibly lead to instant death. Advancement in Twilight 2000s through experience points. If we flick over to page 138, we've got skill improvement, and it talks us through that. Basically, we are getting experience and we are spending it 1 point per skill increase. So if we look here, we can see that Julia here has a melee combat unarmed skill of 1. And to increase that to 2, she spends 1 experience point. And it's as simple as that. It suggests ticking off skills during gameplay to mark which ones you've used, so ones which might be extended, but that's an optional rule the Games Master can apply. Also, for gaining new skills, you have to be trained by somebody. So if Julia here wants to become skilled with small arms pistol, one of the other characters who has that skill will have to instruct her and spend some time doing that before she can spend experience to gain that skill. And apart from that, there's a second type of experience, which is your initiative experience. And that's increased the same way, so spending a point increases it. And you gain 1 of these experience points for every combat that your character takes part in. So when Julia here takes part in her first combat, she'll gain 1 experience. So the next chance she gets to spend experience, she'll be able to spend it on initiative and increase it to 2. However, it's going to be 5 combats, or 5 sessions with combat, before Lauren here gains 5 experience, can increase his to 6. By which time Julia will have been through 5 combats as well, and she'll have spent 1 to take it up to 2, 2 more to take it up to 3, and she'll be just 1 short of taking it up as far as 4. So initiative increases very quickly as your characters become more battle hardened. And that's Twilight 2000. It's an older game, it's a lot of fun, especially in the survival aspects. This is a game very much of trying to survive in the post-Holocaust world. Every bullet's important. I was speaking to somebody recently who was talking about their group started with an M1 Abrams tank, but of course they ran out of ammunition, they ran out of fuel and had to abandon it. So they had this wonderfully powerful piece of hardware, which in the post-Holocaust world was just useless to them later on, but it gave them a great start. But that's the rules for Twilight 2000, obviously very briefly gone over. There's a lot more complexity in the game for people. I haven't touched on vehicles at all, and many other aspects of the game. But I think I've whittled on for long enough as usual, so thank you very much for watching. Please like and subscribe if you could possibly do that for me, as it'll be doing me a massive favour with the YouTube algorithm gods, as they will look favourably upon me. But most of all, you look after yourselves, and I'll catch you later. Bye now.